a video on making a butter variation, butter alternative type of thing. So I've done a few of these before. So I have made butter from different similar things to butter fat. So I took the fat from cheese and I whisked it slowly over ice to with a little bit of water in it to make a cheese out of a butter out of cheese fat. So there's lots of kind of variations, there's lots of kind of videos. I even used lard, which was kind of quite delicious as well, and turned ghee back into butter as well by adding whey. But you'll see what I'm going to do. So this one is the fat from some chorizos which I was frying yesterday, and the fat that kind of came out of them, and the fat is delicious, paprika-y, meaty deliciousness, which I'd normally use in cooking. But I was thinking, can we turn that into a butter? So I haven't got too much of it, and I normally go on 80 grams worth of fat, 20 grams worth of water, and then that will form a consistency of butter. So I haven't got too much of that. So I think what I'm going to do is I've got some leftover. This is the cheese fat, which I turned into a butter. It's like a cheddar cheese fat, which I split out of cheese by frying it. The fat that kind of comes out, and then I collected the fat. That's the fat. So I think we'll use, depending on how much of that we've got, we'll use a ratio of that. Most people aren't going to have that. So what I would do is I would use ghee instead. So even if I hadn't got enough of that, I'd bulk it out with some ghee. So if I didn't have that, I'd be using ghee. So that amount of that, top it up with, so if there was 40 grams of that, I'd add 40 grams of that and 20 grams worth of water. Now you may kind of say, why bother making a chorizo butter? Solely just add that to butter, mix it around, and therefore you have a chorizo butter. And that's, of course, yeah, you could do that, and it'd be wonderful. But this is more about using up waste products. So that's a bit of a waste product. That's a bit of a waste product. That's not a waste product because that's got loads of uses, and same with butter. So it's a case of using things up in a different way that otherwise you'd just kind of throw in the bin. So like cheese, that was, I can't imagine a scenario where you'd ever throw cheese away. But I do at work. So things like Stilton, you can't throw it away once you can't use it, so you throw it away after function. So it's a way of using up a waste product in my eyes, and this is just an extension of that. Anyway, so I'll melt these in a pan, and then we'll whip them over a bag of peas, because as always, cocktails, the ice in this house gets used in cocktails. So a bag of peas, it'll do the job just as well. But you'll see what I'm doing, and it'll be hopefully really interesting for me, anyway, at least. Right, so in here we have a mixture of the three fats: the chorizo fat, the cheddar cheese fat, and the ghee, because I didn't have quite enough of all three. Although I don't think it making out a pure chorizo fat would have been a particularly good idea. It'd be a little bit too strong, I would have thought. And I didn't want to have to buy loads of chorizos, just kind of do that. So there's 80 grams worth of fat and 20 grams worth of butter. And then it's just a simple case of, oh, it's not going to scratch. So with your hand beater, hand whisk, in there, turn the power on, and slowly mix it around, and as it cools it will form a butter. It takes about 5 minutes, so we'll be back when it's starting to form a butter. You just have to move it around so it all gets incorporated and homogenizes. Is it homogenized? I'll forget the word. It's when you make a mayonnaise and you mix fat and a liquid. Emulsify. There you go. When it's all emulsified. Right, so this is starting to come together, as you can see. So it's just a case, that's taken about 5 minutes. So you just, obviously the more you make, the longer it will kind of take, because everything's got to kind of cool down. But for a small amount like this, it takes about 5 minutes. So you just need to keep on going and going and going, and it will thicken up and thicken up and cool down, and then turn into a butter. Right, so we are about there. So that didn't take too long at all. Now, that is my... No, I do have a spatula somewhere. My favourite one. Where did I put it? I'll have to find it, hang on. Right, so, I've made some toast as well. So, let's give this a bit of a taste. So, we've whipped air into it, so that's kind of can change the flavour of it anyway. So it's not like a solid butter. It's going to be a bit whipped. So, and if you add air into something, it changes the flavour. So, how's it taste? Need some salt. Better put some salt in it. Hang on. There, we just added some salt into it. So, how does it taste now? That's delicious. That's delicious. Cheesy, paprika-y. That's lovely. So, yeah, if you've got some chorizo fat, just stir it into softened butter, and then you've got like a chorizo butter. But this is about using up waste that we couldn't potentially use in anything else. So there we go. How does it taste on toast? Look at that colour. That colour's amazing. That's lovely. That's the best one, yeah. So, it has no practical uses whatsoever. You are never, hardly ever going to have these things around the house like I do. But it just goes to show that you can use waste, which something that you put in the bin, you can use it for something else, and just to kind of think about things in a different way, food-wise. And that's kind of what the best restaurants do. They think about food in a different way. Well, it's the best chefs. The best chefs use things in a different way and make you kind of expand your horizons. So you kind of go a little bit pointless, but what we learn from that, we can put somewhere else in our understanding about foods and our interest in foods, and take different ideas and transplant them in other places. But that's delicious. I kind of think the only if you had some kind of grilled cheese sandwich shop or street food type of place, and you were frying cheese on a solid top and toasting sandwiches, and all the fat that came out of the cheese and the bacon and the chorizo and all that kind of stuff that you were putting in the cheese sandwiches, grilled cheese sandwiches, you could collect that fat and you could turn it into something like that, which you would then use back in your sandwiches. Well, that's what I'd do anyway. So, but anyway, it's delicious. You'll probably never make it. I'll probably never make it again, but interesting all the same, and that's a success.